Today is Sunday, Parashat Vayakhel. The Parashah of this week is a continuation of the previous couple of Parashiot that spoke about the building of the Mishkan, the sanctuary that traveled with them in the desert, except even if in previous Parashiot the plan, the instructions, the blueprint was given of how to build the various vessels and what materials they were made from and their dimensions, etc. In this Parashah, a large part of the parasha has to do about the carrying out, about the execution of the plan that was given. Well, that's an important idea in itself, because unfortunately, all too often people have great plans, but when it comes to the realization and application, there's a big difference sometimes between what a person had in mind and what actually they've done. Of course, it's great when it matches, and here the parasha makes a point to tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu and the Jewish people carried out exactly per plan, per instruction, per the commandments. How they were instructed is exactly what they did in making the Mishkan. But there is another message in the parasha of this week that has a lot of importance. And the idea is at the beginning of the parasha, as the Torah starts telling us about all these aspects of building the Mishkan, there is two verses that seem to be somewhat in parentheses, and the verses have to do with Shabbat. The pasuk says, "Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha," 6 days you'll do work, or work shall be done, and bayom hashevi'i, and on the 7th day, yelachem kodesh, you'll be a holy Shabbat Shabbaton, not allowed to do any work in it. Lo tevaru esh bechol moshvotechem b'yom haShabbat, you shall not make any fire, kindle any fire on Yom Shabbat. Why is this here? And Rashi explains, this comes to teach us, even though the building of the Mishkan was such a holy endeavor, such an important project, it doesn't supersede the observing of the laws of Shabbat. And on Shabbat, they couldn't continue to build the Mishkan or to make the vessels of the Mishkan. And from this proximity of the subject of Shabbat to the building of Mishkan, we also learn that, and it's mentioned also somewhere else, that we are observed to Shabbat and we are to have reverence for the Mikdash. This idea of having reverence for the Mikdash and observing Shabbat teaches us that all the activities that were used in making the Mishkan, there were 39 types of activities, are the 39 type of activities that are forbidden to do on Shabbat. And they include, of course, painting and weaving and sewing and planting, because all these activities that were necessary to make the Mishkan, and whether it was to create the dyes, so you have to plant certain types of plants to give you the pigments to make the dyes, to paint some of the curtains, and whether it is to build or to burn, to kindle a fire. All these activities, there are 39 different types of activities that were necessary to build the Mishkan, and these are the 39 activities and their derivatives that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. So you could go like up 100 staircases, flights of stairs, and you haven't desecrated the Shabbat, but you just turn on the light switch, and by doing just that very simple motion, or lighting a match, which doesn't take much effort, but because that activity is a creative activity that was involved in some respect in building the Mishkan, that activity of lighting a match is asur to do on Shabbat. But going up 100 flights of stairs, that even though you might be tired as you do that, it is not considered to be desecrating the Shabbat. And those 39 activities that are forbidden to do on Shabbat are activities that are listed and studied in detail in Masechet Shabbat. And in observing Shabbat, that's what we have to be careful with. And even though you'd think maybe in building the Mishkan you'd be allowed, no. Now, of course, these ideas of the restrictions of Shabbat, there are certain situations where they're waived. If it's to save a person's life, if it's to fulfill a mitzvah like a brit milah. So these restrictions of Shabbat are waived in those cases. Actually, they're not only waived, but they become a mitzvah to do what you're supposed to do, whether it is to take care of a person who is at risk in terms of his health, or to do a brit milah. These are examples. Then it becomes a mitzvah to do that because it's not considered to be a desecration of Shabbat. And these are some of the lessons from the Parashah of this week, Parashat Vayakhel. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.